SV Union High School and Junior College Pune welcomes you. Children, I am Deepa Phadke. We had already started learning about Std-IX Political Science Chapter 5, India and Other Countries. This session we will continue learning the same chapter, and this is part 3. So let's study about the relationship of India with America. India and America. India and America are powerful democratic political systems. For India, America is most important trading partner. Many Indians are settled in America for education and work. The presence of many non-resident Indians, a lot of cultural, social and economical transactions take place in USA. After the Cold War, both the countries increased their military relations. After India adopted free market policy, the trade relations between two nations are strengthened. So when we talk about the relationship between India and America, both the countries are democratic political countries, and from India's point of view, America is most important trading center, trading partner. And as we know, children, many young people, many Indians have become residents of USA now. So obviously there are a lot of transactions at the cultural, social and economical point of view. And even after both the world wars, when the Cold War started and after the end of the Cold War, both the nations have started increasing their military strengths. And as we know, by the end of the 19th century, India has also adopted open market policy. From that time onwards, there are always growing trade relations between India and America. After the nuclear tests were started getting conducted in India, no doubt, the approach of America had totally changed. But in the year 2005, again, when the agreement regarding the conduction of nuclear tests was signed by India, it took almost 3 years for America to go through the agreement and sign over it. But finally, when it got signed, after that, the relations between India and America started growing strengthened. Let's know something more about the relationship between India and US. In 2005, the India-US Civil Nuclear Agreement was signed by Dr. Manmohan Singh, the then Prime Minister of India, and George W. Bush Jr., the then American President. In 2008, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, gave its approval to the deal. Because of this deal, it became possible for India to get nuclear technology from other countries as well. So as we were learning about it, children, it was about civil nuclear agreement that was proposed in 2005, and finally it was signed in the year 2008, and IAEA gave its approval to this deal, and the then Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and the then American President George W. Bush Jr. signed this agreement. And now, as you know it became possible for India to get nuclear technology from other countries also along with America. India and Russia. There has been always friendly relationship between India and Russia. After signing the Indo-Soviet Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation was signed between them, gave impetus to cooperation in defense and technology. India has also received military help from Russia on a large scale. When the Soviet Union collapsed, India tried to help Russia. After 1996, IndoRussian Relations began to improve slowly. Both the nations have jointly built projects related to production of military equipment, production of mineral oil, etc. So if you see, children, over here on about the relationship between India and Russia, you understand one thing, that right from the beginning, the Indo-Soviet Treaty of Friendship was signed between both the nations. Obviously, there is a lot of cooperation in different fields like defense and technology between both the nations. Another thing, India always helped given military assistance to Soviet Russia at the time when Russian economy had collapsed and when the Soviet Union started getting disintegrated. So you understand one thing, that whenever it is a saying, children, a friend in need is a friend indeed. So same way, whenever it was important, whenever the problems were faced by Russia, India helped it. Whenever India needed help, Russia has given its full help. So that's the reason a very good relationship has been developed between India and Russia. Even children, you know about the implementation as well as about the making of nuclear like missile technology. At that point of time also, it was Russia which has helped India completely. So always there are good relations between India and Russia. Let's learn about the relationship between India and European nations. See, the relations always enhance based on to the give and take responsibilities, give and take transactions. India has always helped developed trade relations with European countries. No doubt Germany and France invest on a large scale in the field of technology, of production of weapons from European nations. Still, India is a major exporter in the fields of engineering and information technology. Several treaties have been signed in the fields of climatic change, clean energy, defense production, disaster management, security of airspace, and terrorism. This is also important for India's development. So when we look at India's relations with other European nations, we understand one thing, that unlike other nations, even India is a major exporter into the field of engineering and scientific technology. That's the reason, based on development in the field of science and technology, based on in the production, for the production purpose, maybe for trade relations, India has signed several treaties with all other European nations, and based on that, India's relations with other nations, other European nations, are noteworthy and highly significant. There are certain common issues that are faced by all the countries in the world, like climatic conditions or clean energy or defense production or disaster management or security of air, space, and even against terrorism. These are common issues that are faced by all the worldly nations. Based on these issues, concentrating more over these issues, treaties have been signed by India. This proves that India's relations with European countries are very good. Let's study about the relationship between India and all the continent of America, all the countries of the continent of America. India has cautiously taken steps to build cooperation with the continent of Africa. Like India has foresightedness, we can say. So in that matter, India has always cooperated with the countries of the continent of Africa. India has shown readiness to help in all-round development of African youth. India has also agreed to give economic help and even grants to bring about development in different areas like technology, agricultural field, or tourism. There are countries like Egypt, Nigeria, Angola, Sudan, from which India's needs can be fulfilled. India is making progress to increase trade with African countries. Even the summit conference that was held between India and African continent countries in 2015, the representatives from all 54 African nations had attended this conference, in which many global issues were discussed. So over here also, India's work and India's approach is noteworthy, highly significant. So we can understand one thing, that India has deliberately, intentionally developed very good relations with all the worldly nations. When we talk about the countries of the continent of Africa, here also having that foresightedness, India has always shown a very friendly approach towards the development of the African youth. Then also India has agreed, India has helped the African countries. Even India has given grants to bring about development into different fields in the African countries, like technology or agriculture or even tourism. And as we know that there are different countries in the continent of Africa, like Egypt, Nigeria, Angola, Sudan. India's needs are like increasing. According to the increase in the needs of India, India has always made progress to increase trade in all these countries. So the summit conference that was held amongst the African continent countries and India in 2015, here also India's approach is very, very significant. You can understand that India has always shown helpful attitude, helpful approach, conducive approach towards the African continent countries. India and the Indo-Pacific area. There are so many countries that include or that lie on the Indo-Pacific area, like Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asian countries, and India has a very close trade relations with all these countries. India has signed several treaties with these countries, like Australia. India has signed the treaty with Australia about social security, extradition of criminals, the art and culture, etc. Japan also cooperates with India in basic facilities, economic cooperation, information technology, atomic energy, and railways. Japan has agreed to extend cooperation and technological help towards India in the development and security of coastal areas. Joint naval exercises are carried out between the navies and coast guards of both the countries. So you can understand here also, children, that when we learn about the countries that are located in the Indo-Pacific area, India has developed friendly relations, amiable relations with all the countries that lie in Indo-Pacific area. India has very close trade relations with Australia. India has signed the treaty with Australia about social security. There are some common issues like even against the corruption, against the terrorism, against extradition of criminals, art and culture. So there are a lot of transactions between India and Australia. Same way when we talk about Japan. Japan also cooperates with India in providing basic facilities, economic cooperation, information technology, atomic energy, and even railways. So India has developed good relations with Japan, and Japan has agreed to extend cooperation and help, technological help to India in her development and security of coastal areas. Even both the countries exercise joint naval exercises, joint naval activities together. So you can understand that at the border level also, to take care of coastal areas, Japan and India are forefront. Let's study about the relation between India and Southeast Asia. India has had very cordial relations with Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Thailand, Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Brunei. So India has developed friendly relations with all these countries that lie in Southeast Asia. After India adopted free market policy by the end of the 19th century, the trade relations with Southeast Asian countries have grown up faster. This policy about free market policy, it's about free marketing, this increased trade from India to Southeast Asian countries, and this policy of free marketing towards or with the Southeast Asian countries is known as Look East policy, because during the 19th century the free market policy was adopted by all these nations. Even India has adopted it, and this policy particularly is known which has developed towards Southeast Asian countries is known as Look East policy. And now in the course of years, this policy has turned up into Act East policy. So you can imagine that initially it was decided and the implementation done. Now this growth in trade from India to other Southeast Asian countries has grown up. Now it has been turned into Act East policy. So you can understand one more thing over here, children, that like other all nations, the relations from India to other nations are always helpful, very friendly and cordial. Let's know about India and West Asia. India has traditionally had relations with these countries. India depends upon the oil coming in from West Asia. India imports oil from Iran, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. We get modern technology for agriculture, defense equipment from Israel. Many Indians live in Israel for their livelihood, and they also make a major contribution to our economy. So again, looking at the people, those who are already residents of these countries like Israel, looking at the needs right, we need oil which comes from West Asia. So there is transaction of different commodities. India needs modern technology for agriculture, for defense equipment from Israel. So there is give and take relationship between India and West Asian countries. India has already developed good relations with these countries. India always imports oil from these countries. India imports oil from Iran, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia as well as UAE. India imports modern technology for agriculture purpose, for defense equipments from Israel. So there is give and take relations between India and West Asian countries. So the people, those who are settled there in these countries, also make a major contribution towards enhancing Indian economy. So, the main objective of India's foreign policy is to maintain friendly relations with all nations and help each other so as to bring about development of India as well as other countries. So, based on this principle, this objective which India follows according to India's foreign policy. And what is the main objective of it? To create, to develop, to nurture friendly relations with all the other nations in the world. And India is the best example for creating such kind of friendly relations amongst the nations. And the main objective, while following and trying to achieve this objective, India tries to bring about development in her own country as well as all other nations. So children, we have studied about India's relations with all the other nations, with all the other countries thoroughly. So children, we have completed learning the whole chapter here. Read the lesson, mark all the answers of the questions asked in the exercise given behind the chapter. Practice writing of those answers. So go through all the 3 videos that you have watched once again. Thank you.